Welcome to the Free Birth Podcast, a supportive space for people who are learning, exploring, and celebrating their autonomous choices in childbirth. Together, we'll unpack truths, share personal stories, and claim our ability to birth freely and intuitively. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
This week on the podcast, we have the beautiful Yoni, who on a whim, pregnant with her second child, journeyed from the mainland to Kauai with her partner to settle in their next chapter of life. She enjoyed a truly autonomous pregnancy with no outside management and practiced deep listening and connectivity with her baby soon to be born. Yoni shares her gorgeous story of birthing wild and free, outside, in the water, under the moon, on sacred land.
Okay, we had just hiked the Pacific Crest Trail and ended up trimming some ganja actually in Oregon, and that's where we conceived Bodhi. And it was like, I was 21 and we had all these wild plans of like going to Asia, then traveling to Europe, then going to like Africa. I don't know. We were just going to go wherever the wind took us. And then we got pregnant and we were like, oh, wait, whoa, now what?
Yeah.
And
nothing puts a hitch in your giddy up like a pregnancy.
Yeah, totally. It was, and it like was definitely a bit of a shock. But we got over it pretty quickly and we're stoked afterwards. And we decided to move back to Georgia to be close to family, which was quite wild because Georgia's the South. Mm-hmm. That we don't have a whole lot of tribe there. We have friends and we have our family, and our family is our family. But yeah, no tribe, you know?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So my pregnancy with him was spent, I worked at Lowe's in the garden center and just watered flowers for 8 hours a day.
Wow. That's not too bad.
Was really wonderful. No,
yeah, exactly.
And I had gone to just like a regular OB, and they were like, yeah, you might see, 28 doctors within your pregnancy. And one of these on this sheet will deliver your baby.
Ew.
And I was like, what? No. And I was like, there's got to be another option. And so I found a midwifery and spent the rest of my time with them. I switched over probably around like 24 weeks or so. And I had only seen the regular OB once before that. But yeah, so spent the rest of my pregnancy with him, going to the midwifery, and then
just to be clear, the midwifery that was within a hospital or out of hospital?
Yes, yeah. This midwifery they delivered at a hospital. The hospital had the lowest C-section rate in the state, and was one of the only 2 hospitals in the state that allowed water births. So for me, it was a beautiful median at the time. We felt we had spoken about having a free birth with him, but didn't feel we had a safe space. We were living.
So free birth was already in your consciousness.
It was. Yeah, it was in my consciousness, but my partner was like, no, what if? Mm-hmm. He had like all these what ifs. And then we were living in a 36-foot camper on his parents' land. And I just didn't, nowhere in my like visions could I see myself laboring either in the camper or on the land that didn't feel like mine, or in a house with 3 other of his siblings. Like, I just didn't have a safe place. And so for me to find like this somewhat of a median of this hospital that had like the lowest C-section rate, water births allowed, these midwives I was enjoying, I was like, okay, like this I can make this what I want to make this. Mm-hmm. And so that was that with him. And so he was born in a hospital with midwives, and I labored in the tub for a really long time with him. But my body just wanted to deliver him standing up, and I ended up having him with my midwife underneath me.
Nice.
And it was just a beautiful experience. His name is Bodhi. So he's, light, awakening, a teacher. And I think a lot of just his life is just such, oh my gosh, I just don't even know how to word it, but he is a teacher to us in so many ways. And I really believe that my pregnancy with him and my birth with him was such a huge catalyst and such a huge teaching in how Bloom came into this world.
Sure, of course. It's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you feel leaving that? How did you feel leaving that birth?
There at the time, I was elated. I was like, everything went the way it should have. Everything went beautifully. His cord was cut right away, and I feel like I have a little bit of trauma from that, to be honest.
For sure. Yeah.
Because I remember seconds after he was born, and I turned around and I saw in my head and in my head thought, that is a perfectly healthy baby. He was pink. And then my midwife was like, we're going to have to cut the cord right away. He's not breathing.
Right. Because for the record, babies don't breathe right away. Come on.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I didn't really think all this through until I read Sacred Birthing later on, and just some of the points they brought up. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I actually had to heal a little bit of trauma around Bodhi's birth.
Yeah.
To be able to birth Bloom. But it was honestly, though, it was a really, really beautiful, experience. Like I was one of 4 women on the ward that night, and I was the only one laboring naturally. And so the nurses would come in and watch me, and they'd be like, you've got this, girl. You're a goddess. Like, look at you dancing this beautiful dance. Like, oh, you were born to do this, and nice. That felt so good. And so, it was like a really beautiful experience. But when I got pregnant with Bloom, I just knew there had to be more.
For sure.
So,
I mean, even just having your baby cut from you without your consent, without your knowing, and it just happening, like, as a culture, we really underestimate that. I mean, even just that is a really, 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 really big deal and a lot to process. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you left there being like, that was awesome for the most part, and there's got to be more. And
totally.
So how many years apart? When was your next pregnancy?
Pretty much 2 years exactly. Well, they're both born on August 2nd.
Whoa.
So
that's crazy.
They share birthdays, so I can only assume they were conceived about the same time, and actually out in Oregon again on a ganja farm. Bodhi conceived in a tent. Bloom conceived in a van, probably.
Nice. How do you wind up in Hawaii?
Yeah, so I had actually felt a calling to come to the islands before my pregnancy with Bodhi. I think I actually kind of forgot to mention that a little bit. We were thinking of coming to the islands more as like travelers, and then it being like a halfway stop to Asia before I got pregnant with Bodhi. And then I had thought about taking this doula course with him, or before I got pregnant with him as well, on the islands, like a sacred birthing course. And when I got pregnant with him, I decided not to do that because I needed the money to be able, to have a baby. And, but I had been in contact with this woman that lived on the island and that had a little community. And I had always just felt attracted to that space since before I was pregnant with Bodhi. And when I got pregnant, and I had felt that Bodhi totally wanted to be born on the islands. And we just didn't make it happen. We felt called, I guess, a little more called to be closer to family in Georgia. But when we got pregnant with Bloom, we were like, okay, this baby wants to be born on Kauai. We're doing whatever we need to do to get there. And we finished up trim season, road trips from Oregon down to California, sold our van, and had everything lined up to come to this community on Kauai. And then when we were on the way down to California, they were like, hey, it's not going to work out.
Oh, no.
Right now. And we were like, I was upset about it at first. And then I was like, you know what, babe? Like, we thrive on uncertainty. And like, we just total surrender to
totally.
With everything. Like,
I mean, people who do what you do have to be like that. I'm the same way. Yeah. Like, people don't like pick up and move to Hawaii or just like go do a trim season or just roll to Georgia for a birth. Like that level of, nomadic vibe has to kind of come with trusting and with the reality of uncertainty.
Totally, because like it's not always going to go your way, and you just have to laugh about it.
And like the shadow side to the illusion of certainty in like a stable home for the same, for a long time and the same whatever, like the same job, the same everything. That's totally great and wonderful and has a real beautiful groundedness to it as well. And I think that lifestyle can trap you in a illusion of certainty.
Oh, I love that.
That's not real either, which is the beauty and work of free birth, right? That there is no certainty and motherhood. God, totally. I mean, no one really escapes it. It's life. It's humanity.
Yeah, totally.
So you're like, it's not going to work out, but we're going anyway.
Yeah. And I let them know. I was like, we're going to buy our tickets and we'll see you on the island.
Nice.
So, I think I was probably about like 19 or 20 weeks at the time we got to the island. And we bought a car, and my love found a job within 18 hours of our arrival.
Oh my gosh.
And
that is not easy to do in Hawaii.
No, I was about to say, if anyone knows like what it's like on the islands, like be ready to like thrive or be ready to like burn to the ground.
Totally.
The energy here is super powerful. And if the islands want you here, they'll let you know. And we just had the biggest, warmest hug from Mama Kauai coming here. And we, felt it was a lot, just a lot of the fact that she called a baby, her baby and our baby to be born here on this island, with the wettest mountain of the earth, like literally the wettest place on earth is on this island. It's like the womb space of the entire earth. So being pregnant here on this island was just so magical, and just being able to go to the beaches and go swimming. And
so all the islands is such a fertile place. Like all you see on Maui is pregnant bellies and babies, and it's such a fertile place.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And we kind of like, we moved into a regular house, and I totally was like, anytime I'd be like, you know what, Ryan, like, I just don't, this isn't where Bloom is supposed to be born. Well, I didn't know her name. I didn't totally know her gender. I thought I knew her gender. And I was just like, I just don't know if this is where she's supposed to be born. And we just didn't get attached to that house. Just didn't get attached to it. And then finally, after probably about 2-3 months on the island, we ended up meeting the owners of the community again and ended up slowly making our way in. And so we were supposed to be here, and we're here now. And we have a little hale with it's like a school bus built, and then like a big sunroom built on, and she was born outside. And so it's just great that we were able to be here on the island. But to continue just with my pregnancy with Bloom, it was absolutely magical. When we were in Oregon, so before we even came to the islands, I was in a new moon sister circle. And in this womb meditation that a sister led us into, I felt my womb space fill with just like the brightest light, the brightest love. And I had spirit come to me and whisper, she's coming. And I was like, whoa, hold the door. There's a baby coming. Okay. And I didn't tell my partner. And then when my next moon never came, we took a test and found out. And so the entire pregnancy, I was just like, okay, like, I just feel like it's a girl. And if it's not, I surrender to like everything I know. The divine message was so strong. And I don't know, she's just such a magical soul. Like, anytime I would be able to tune in with her, she's the one that when I tuned in about the birth, she's the one that told me that free birth is what she wanted. It wasn't even something like, my partner and I wanted this, but as long as my baby's in my arms, I'm going to be content. You know what I mean? But it was her that was like, just so, I don't even know, just like, this is what I want. This is how it's going to go. And we trusted it and we just went with it. And I could just envision, there were just little snippets of her birth I could envision that actually ended up coming true too. And so in my pregnancy with her, we, explored, like, we listened to some of the podcasts, and one that really stuck out with me actually was Katya's interview.
Katya, yeah.
Yeah. And where she just talked about like how much control we surrender when we have, midwives or medical providers present. And that blew my mind. It blew my mind. I was like, holy shit. Like, I surrendered so much control to my midwife. And
we don't even realize. Yeah, we don't even realize it.
Yeah, no realization there at all with like the checking I ended up letting her do. And that was just like a big turning point for me in my pregnancy too, of being like, okay, I have control. I'm going to be the one in control. And that was just really powerful for me to just start like setting that intention and setting that, space.
What's so interesting about that is even if you're giving away control, you're still in control. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what, we're making decisions. And so if we're making decisions to let other people make our decisions, we're still making that decision, but we don't realize it. And so it's kind of this like infinite loop of realization, or self-denial, right? That like, if someone else is quote unquote managing anything about our bodies, we are deciding that is permissible, So it's so interesting because we don't even realize that part. And I think once we realize that part, like your epiphany, then it's like, oh, is that actually what feels, most intuitive and most mama bear to me? Right.
Yeah. And so we just started exploring. I remember at first when I had felt Bloom tell me that this is what she wanted, I was like kind of scared to tell my partner because I didn't know how he was going to react. But he was like, yeah, this is what she wants. Like, we've done it, we've had Bodhi. Like, we got this.
Isn't it kind of what every baby wants? Like, every baby wants to be born optimally, right?
Right.
Like, every baby wants to be born to a healthy woman in her power because inarguably that is optimal for survival, bonding, attachment, contentment. And, so I love that you were tuned into it. And I would say that you were tuning into like the primal whisper of the universe, that says like, birth your baby optimally, birth your baby undisturbed, birth your baby without, gloved hands in your vagina,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So how did Ryan take it?
Ryan was like, yeah, like if this is, like, let's make it happen. And it was still me that had like the doubts. It was me that was more so like had these doubts and a little bit of fear still. And so we interviewed like 2 midwives. And it was funny because in one of the interviews with the midwives, we were sitting by the stream in the back of the property. And she was like, okay, so that was like, that was a good little interview. How do you feel about meeting again, like in a month or so? And then but we don't know what fell. I think it may have been a banana, like a banana tree. And it just like went, whoosh. And she goes, oh, I'm feeling, and she just like couldn't talk for a second. Like she's very spiritual. I don't know. She's a really, really cool person. And I'm sure she's an amazing midwife, but she was like, I don't really know what to do about that right now. She's like, this feels very strange. And I was like, what are you feeling? She's like, I'm feeling like this baby does not want anyone to touch her or do anything. Like, she doesn't want me, to take your blood. She doesn't want me to let you pee in a cup for me to check anything. Like, yeah, no. And so that was really interesting. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I just thought it was cool that she voiced that too, that she voiced that. Because we went into
that's very
interviews.
Intuitive, and there's a lot of humility in that. And again, right? No baby wants you to take your blood.
No. And it was, and we were only interviewing these midwives as like a total, like we would tell them, we were like, we want to have a free birth. We're going to have a free birth. Like, can you be our emergency backup? With just in interviewing these midwives, I just still felt that they were like, yeah, but what if there's a what if? She had mentioned that like she could hold space for us just on the land and then not even be there, but just for her to like be on the land in case. And I was like, no, I don't. I just these what ifs, like they're what's holding me back from like completely surrendering to the power of knowing we are capable. And so when I spoke with Ryan about it, he was like, no, we don't need them. We've got this. Like, it's just you and I. Like, we've got this. We can do this. And hearing my partner say that, like almost in that moment, just have more trust than I myself did, just made me be like, 1, I love you. 2, you're absolutely right. We've got this. And that was another like big turning point for me of just like sinking deeper into just trusting and knowing that this was the most right thing for us to do and to bring our baby,
beautiful,
onto earth. Yeah.
So take me to the time of your birth.
Yes. So it was August 1st, and Ryan's mother was in town, was on island. She wasn't necessarily, I definitely didn't envision her being at the birth, but she ended up being there. And I really saw her more as like help with postpartum, and it was wonderful to have her here. But so she was on island, and the morning of the 1st, we went to town to do like all sorts of errands. And when we were sitting at Costco, I was like, oh my goodness, we have to leave. Like, I'm just feeling all these people's energy, and it's nothing anyone is doing, but I am just so sensitive right now, and we have to go home. And I was also, I don't know whether, part of me doesn't like to say the whole weeks thing. But for the sake of conversation, I feel like sometimes it's like, I don't know, it's easier to say how far along you are in weeks, because it gives some little bit of a reference to something. Yeah. I was 41 and 6. And we had yeah, just been like trusting that baby was going to come on baby's timing. And so I'm
for
like,
sure. What else would they?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, so we decide I'm like, okay, you guys go to the laundromat, drop me back off at home. And Bodhi fell asleep in the car, which was perfect. And then, so we go home, we get to the land, and I decide to go lay down and rest. And I'm like not tired enough to sleep. So I close my eyes and start just kind of like having this just meditation, this envision. A couple days prior, I had realized that I needed to shift my perspective on this baby's timing. And I had just been so focused on like, we're ready for you, I'm ready for you, you know, and just like so much of just me saying I was ready. And I had just started to kind of shift into this like different perspective of when you're ready. Like when you are ready, we will receive you, you know? And so and
that can start even, you know, with conscious conception. Like for any women who are listening who are thinking about calling in their babies, like I remember having that epiphany, doing the same thing all through my first month of calling her in, and I knew exactly who it was that I was calling, and
That's amazing.
She's who came. And I that first month I didn't conceive, and when I bled, I was like, wait, what? And just so convinced that she would come the second I called. And I had a huge epiphany and release around like, oh, this isn't about me being like, okay, my time, let's go, I'm ready, come now. It's okay, I am available, I am open, I'm receptive. And now it's about being open to her timing. And then I conceived the next week.
Amazing.
So I guess our timing was quite synced up, but it was very, you know, even though it was only 1 month of that, having to sit in that work, it was, it really held true the whole pregnancy and then the whole birth process and of course still into mothering.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you talked about that because that really is huge. Just like kind of just changing the perspective a little bit and seeing what other angle you can see it from.
And that it's
it
a
opens
dance.
a lot more doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful dance.
Yeah, we're just like the cup.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So you had a beautiful breakthrough around her timing.
Yes. And so I was like envisioning. I had this, you know, I was doing this little meditation and I was envisioning like my safe spot. And my safe spot in my meditations where I go is like this like big rock in the middle of this, I don't know, like gorgeous blue emerald water with like a waterfall wall all around me and like jungle. And that's where I go in my meditations. And so I can see myself like out of body. And so that's where I was. And I had a little like light orb. I had my baby's soul come down to me and I caught the orb and I put it on my belly. And then we ascended together to the heavens, to the cosmos. And there were all these other like light orb, you know, little baby souls floating up there. And then right as I was there, this song, I had been listening to flute music and this song came on. And I have the lyrics written down and I'd love to share them. Because they were just, I just remember in that moment, I was like, whoa, I just had this like beautiful little envisioning and meditation and now these lyrics are playing. And it said, you are a child of the moon, a child of the earth, a child of my womb. A tree is a child of the sun, a child of a seed, a child of the one. Growing in wonder, they reach for the sky, roots set deep in the ground. Guide their hearts as they dance their dance on this journey, this stage called life.
That's awesome. So that just came on?
Yeah, it just like came. I had been listening to flute music, but like that song came on and I'd never even listened to that song. And then right seconds after those lyrics played and then it goes into the flute music, one of my sisters on the land walks in, goes, "Hey, Yoni." And I'm like, hey, and I tell her about the experience I just had, and she goes, do you want a massage? And I'm like, yeah, I want a massage. So she's massaging me. And then Ryan, his mama, and Bodhi come home maybe like an hour later. And my phone had died in the meantime while Kira was giving me a massage. And when I turned, I had to plug it into the car because we live off grid. And when they came back, and I had my phone turned back on, I'd gotten a message from one of my friends in Oregon, who quite possibly is where, on their driveway in our van, is probably where we conceived Bloom. And she said that her daughter goes back to the East Coast every summer for a couple weeks to visit family, and that on their daily FaceTime, she had mentioned, her daughter's only like 6 years old, by the way, had asked if I had my baby yet. And, her mom was like, I don't know, why? And she goes, well, I had a dream that Bodhi's little sister and my little sister, her mom is pregnant too, were swimming in the ocean, and a sea turtle came up to Bodhi's little sister and said, it did a little dance around Bodhi's little sister and said, it's time for you to go meet your family.
Aww.
And that Bodhi's little sister got on the sea turtle's back, and the sea turtle brought them to an island.
Chill.
Where they were all waiting for the baby. And I was like, what? I don't even know if she knows we live on Kauai. I don't even know if she knows, that sea turtles are regarded as sacred here, that they're, the guiders of like coming home. And it was such a beautiful little message. Yeah. And then time is always interesting. So we had dinner, except I didn't eat dinner. And that was like another sign for me. I was like, wow, I had this meditation. I have this message about sea turtles and my baby possibly coming to an island where we're waiting. I haven't eaten. And then I went to the bathroom and I was like, not my time of day to go to the bathroom. Also interesting. And I went back to our hale and started having, just these like sensations in my lower abdomen. But they were so much slower and so different than Bodhi's that for a long time I was kind of in denial about it. They were just like, Bodhi's were slow oncoming and like radiating, and then they would fade out. This was just kind of more like a little bit piercing and strong and low. And so I was just, I let Ryan know I was having these feelings, and I was like, but I don't know if anything's happening. I hadn't lost like my mucus plug or anything. I mean, I'd felt a little bit of change of pressure like over the weeks I'd been waiting, and I'd felt, just very overly sensitive that day. And then I ended up going to the bathroom again. And this was we tried to eat dinner maybe at 8:30. And then I went to the bathroom again at 10ish. And that's when I messaged everyone on the land. I was like, hey guys, like, this is what's happening. These are the things that have happened. And I just want to let everyone know, where we're at, and that we might be needing, a little bit of help here soon. And one of my sisters on the land was like, okay, just so you know, baby number 2 can come really quick. She was like, Vervain came in, 4 hours. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if it's happening tonight. I'm going to go back to bed. I'm going to rest. And then when I got back to bed, within like 15 minutes, I was on hands and knees and like, working on like breathing through it.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, and Ryan had just, before I went to the bathroom, Ryan had just been like, oh, I'm exhausted. Like, we need to try to get rest. And I was like, oh no.
Luckily, he doesn't have to really do anything, so it's fine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it was totally fine. And so I was like, baby, like, I think I'm going to send another message, and I'm going to ask if anyone is down and willing to come clean and blow up the birth tub so it's at least outside and there, because I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't know how fast this could be. As a little side note, my mom had my brother, which was her second baby, in an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, maybe genes will like play a part in this, right? And so I sent a text, and I heard some people, arriving to our little space, and Ryan grabbed the birth tub and gave it to them to clean and set up. And at that point, I was really having to focus my breath and just like dip further into this birthing space. I was having the waves and the sensations were just so much stronger and so different that I just had to dance with it and figure out what was going to be working for me.
Yeah.
And it also took a good bit of surrendering from me, because I wanted to just sit and meditate and be able to breathe through them, but that wasn't my sitting and breathing through it wasn't my meditation.
Totally.
And I had to
but again, right? Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, no, I wanted to be peaceful and graceful. Right? It's like, no, you have to be primal.
And so I was trying to I put pillows up on the bed and sway kind of like hanging over the pillows. And I tried to put the pillows on top of the changing tables and do that. I tried to hang on to my friend. I tried to hug Ryan. I tried to be on the birth ball. And I started being like, well, what if I walk through the contractions? And so I started, when I would feel one come on, I would just start walking. And what was playing in my head was this song one of my sisters on the land would sing to me if she would massage me. And it was a song that went I'm wide open, I'm trusting my body to carry me through carrying you to me. And that just played in my head over and over and over and over. And so I would just through the rest of the labor with Bloom, and just every surge that would come on, that's just what would be playing in my head. And I would walk and rub my belly, and I ended up telling Ryan, and this had we'd only been going for probably an hour.
Right.
And
you're like, I've already died 1,000 deaths.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? The tub is clean now. I think it needs to be filled up. And this isn't a whole other process. So this is off grid, and we're trying to do a water birth.
Right.
And we have hot water, but it's at the shower, and it's solar powered with a pump. Mm-hmm. And it has the pump is solar powered, and then it has a water heater. This tankless water heater that runs off propane, but that doesn't reach to our house. So what we had was the heating element of one of those tankless water heaters on top of a rocket stove that has fire going in it. And we had enough pressure coming out of our hose to not have to have a pump. And so we were we had hot water by fire, but not by boiling water in pots and having to transfer it to the tub. I know that's probably a lot, but the person on the land that thought of this, he is high and mighty, and I thank him for having gotten us hot water. Mm-hmm. Amazing. And so Ryan is trying to get the fire going to be able to get water into the tub, hot water into the tub. And mid surge, I hear the water come on and a pipe just go.
Uh-oh.
And I hear one of the other people on the land go, bro, you just melted the hose.
No.
So I heard Ryan scuffle off, and I assumed to go, try to find another hose or talk to the handyman that knows how to do everything. And I had been laboring in the bus and decided that I needed more space. I wanted to be able, because I had been walking through the surges, I wanted to be able to walk a longer length. And so I had, I moved the Chuck's pads from the inside of the bus to like outside of like over by our sunroom, and had been just walking like lengthways as long as I could of the Chuck's pads, like up and down one way during my surges. And I walked past the back door at one point and saw the water level of the tub. And it was just beckoning me, absolutely, just like, get in here. Mm-hmm. And so I opened the back door and I was like, what's the temperature? I want to get in. And they were like, we don't know the temperature. We compromised the thermometer. And I was like, what does that mean? And I guess they had tried to, instead of like boiling water and dipping the thermometer into the boiling water, they boiled the water with the thermometer in it. Mm. Is that?
Well, the good thing is you have a hand.
Totally. Exactly.
Like I've never used a thermometer at a birth ever, because you could just.
I think we just had, we had one, and it had like, it was like this fun turtle floaty thing. And I was like, I don't know. And so, I went out there and I was like, I don't care about the thermometer. And I put my hand in and I was like, this feels absolutely divinely perfect and I'm getting in. And they were like, okay. And so I had like two waves, and then it just felt so good to have the water there. And it was interesting because with my birth with Bodhi, I labored in the tub for such a long time, but with every contraction would stand up out of the tub. Mm. And with Bloom, I was able to just like on hands and knees or just hanging over, just be able to just sway and let the water kind of like come over my back a little bit, and was able to stay in the water. And after, like 2 surges of being in the water, my friend's land sister was like, we're going to give you guys space. We're going to clear out. And it was only her and then Rob and Scotty, and they had helped set up the tub and helped keep a fire going for like the hour that this had been going on. And I guess after maybe like 2 hours at this point, or maybe even a little bit more. But I remember as they like right after they left, I just remember having this feeling of, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Mm. And that totally rang a bell in my head. Like, mm-hmm. You felt this, you know this feeling. And I remember just like, I just find this funny. I just had these 2 thoughts like come in and out really quickly. And it was just like me questioning like what that midwife down the road that we didn't hire could possibly do for me at that moment. And then also like, what about that epidural at the hospital? And I was like, funny that this is even coming to your brain right now. Like it was just funny that I was trying to think of these other options, but like I knew they weren't options.
It's like, save me. Can anyone do this for me? Is there any saving to be had here? Totally.
And it was like, I like swirled to the other edge of the tub where Ryan was sitting outside of. And I was like, and I didn't say the words can't, because I knew I could, because I'd had Bodhi before. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And then with the next surge, I reached in and could feel her head. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Confirmed. I know why I'm having these feelings. Yeah. I'm there. I'm going to meet my baby. And I told Ryan, I was like, Ryan, I can feel her head. Like, I'm like, my body's going to want to start pushing soon. And he goes, what? So soon? And he was like, fuck, I got to pee. And then like, and then like looks and goes, shit, the ground's on fire.
What?
where we had the fire on the rocket stove to heat the water in the tub, there was just like some leaves on the ground and they caught on fire.
Oh my God.
He's like, so I'm like here in my blissful bubble, like, oh, I can feel my baby's head. Like, okay, I gotta dig, just sink down a little deeper. I gotta get ready. And he's like, pee first or fire first or my wife first. Like,
my gosh.
So anyways, he puts out the little bit of fire that's there, goes to pee and ends up like, and it's so much fun to hear him tell his story too, because he was able to like really witness it this time around. Whereas with Bodhi, there were like nurses around and midwives around, and like he didn't feel like he properly had a place.
Yeah.
But he was like, able to be like, wow, like, okay, like I see that you're bulging, and like, oh wow, and there's her head, and so I had reached in and could feel her head. And I think the next surge after that, I like looked up at the moon and I said, Moon, Mother Earth, like my ancestors, anyone that's birthed before me, any women that are birthing right now, like, please come together and help me meet my baby within the next 2 waves. And I think it ended up being more like 3 or 4, but things just started getting so primal. Like my roars got so much louder, and I'm sure everyone on the lands could hear. And with every wave, I had my hands inside, just like feeling her descend. And I remember kind of feeling like that I was like, wow, like I really feel like I can't stretch anymore. Like I really don't feel, I couldn't really remember having that feeling with Bodhi. Like I feel like it just happened. But with Bloom, I was actually kind of like helping. Whether that was beneficial or not, I mean, that's just what I did in that moment and felt right. But just like inside, just like kind of helping me open just a little bit as her head was coming down. I just wanted to meet her so bad. I was just so ready. Like,
anything that you're doing with your instincts is right.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, this is just what I want to be doing. I want to have, my hand inside, and I want to feel, and I want to help her come out. And so I was like kind of I was on my hands and knees and was able to feel her start coming out. And then I guess she must have, in the water, turned and gotten face up, and I lifted her out of the water. And in that moment of like, feeling her and kind of guiding her, and then guiding her to where I could see her face, and then guiding her up out of the water, was exactly how I had when I would tune in with my baby about how the birth would go. That's what I would see. I would see, that exact movement of like, bringing this tiny little blue-eyed, brown-haired human out of the water, and only my partner being there with me. And Bodhi was asleep outside or inside, and Ryan's mom had been like caressing his back because he had started wrestling a little bit. But so she was in there with him, and that's exactly how it played. And that I just trusted how it was all going to go, because that's how it went, and just trusting myself. And it was just such a beautiful, magical experience. And when I got her out of the water, I immediately, it was funny because Ryan's mom ended up coming out and was like, is it a boy or a girl? And I was like, I don't even care yet. Although I had, so strongly felt it was a girl. And then I did like turn her over, and her cord was wrapped around like her leg a little bit. And I, opened up her legs and saw it was a girl. And I just immediately said like, welcome, Bloom. Because we knew that was going to be her name. And it was just such a blissful love bubble to know that. So it ended up being like 3 hours and 10 minutes total. And it was just intense and powerful, but like easy at the same time, and just so perfectly played out the way it was supposed to go.
Well, and that's the thing. When you are really in your birth, when you're present inside of it, and when you are allies to it, it can get as big as the whole universe, but we're so protected You know, and so that's, I think a lot of people think, oh, pain equals bad, you know, but pain also can equal big, and
Totally.
pain, you know, pain can equal power, and to be, you know, this little like drop in the ocean of the universe birthing another soul into this universe. It's like there's literally nothing more connected and profoundly big, you know. And so I love that you mentioned, like, can I even stretch it even more? Because that is womanhood, that is motherhood, you know, like, can I? And then you do again and again and again. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah. It was.
And what about your placenta?
My placenta, so I ended up being like in the tub. I was like, oh, I should probably get out of the tub to deliver the placenta, because with Bodhi, I remember my placenta came. So when they cut the cord and brought him and did whatever they felt needed to be done to him, my placenta came out before he was back on my chest. And I know that he was on my chest within like 4 minutes, or even quicker. And so I was like, oh, I should probably get out of the tub and like get somewhere where I feel like I'm grounded and not shaky or anything, and be able to birth the placenta. And so I made it to like the living room, and was just like kind of crouched over this like stainless steel bowl, holding Bloom in my arms, and just witnessing her in all of her beauty. And so I ended up birthing the placenta in the tub, in the bowl. And then we ended up getting into bed, and we really felt that Bloom wanted a lotus birth. And we just, I guess we just weren't prepared enough in preparation. Because after the birth, we were just like, wow, we're so tired. Now what? We just like questioned whether being in the tropics with, you know, like living more outside than inside would be of any hindrance to like the, you know, drying process. And then I felt like Bloom was okay with us doing like half and half, where like, and that was a really interesting, just like idea that I had come across. It was just like cutting the placenta in half and doing like half of that lotus birth, and then half of like the encapsulation process, and so that you're still leaving at least half attached to baby. But even that was like, oh, okay,
but that's the same issue,
right? No, yeah, exactly. It was still like, okay, so
it's just less of it.
It's just half of it. But it was kind of like, so for the next like 2 or 3 hours, it was kind of like one of those, I don't know, psychedelic trips where you like, okay, so what are we going to do?
Yeah, you just circling, and then circling, totally.
And then like,
you're like, we had a plan, right? What was the plan? We have a plan. Okay. We know what we're doing.
And then like, oh, what did the phone say? What did you research? Okay. And then like 30 minutes later, okay, so what are we doing? Right. And it was just like this like
high as fuck.
Just this circle of like just going nowhere with our decision. And we spoke to Bloom, and we were like, Bloom, like, we are so happy that you are here. We are so just like in love with you and, you know, life right now. And we really don't want to have to, you know, just think all these things through. And we just spoke with her and said that we were going to leave it on for 4 hours, and then we were going to try to burn through the cord. But even that we were quite unprepared for. We ended up finding like maybe like 6-inch piece of hemp wick. And so we like tried to burn through it with the hemp wick, and then we ended up burning through the hemp wick, and then had like candles, but the candles would have really needed to have been like long and slender candles,
right, totally.
Not like thick and stout. And so we had, you probably know, we had like tea leaves, covering, like, for people that are listening, they're just like, they're on the islands, they grow everywhere, but There are these big, like, elongated leaves. And we had that as a heat barrier covering her and, like, part of Ryan, because she was laying on Ryan and I was the one.
That's nice. We just used a beer cardboard box.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yours sounds a lot more romantic.
It was like, okay, let's go pick some tea leaves outside of our house. But then, so we were like, it was just taking such a long time. And then the way that because we had like a short stout candle, it started dripping wax on Ryan.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, no.
Yeah. All
right, we tried this, and then we just spoke with Bloom, like, okay, we're trying to do this the most gentle way possible. But it's time, it's time for you to come to Earth, just be of Earth and be of ours. And we're going to disconnect you from,
and how'd you do it?
Tree of life. We ended up just tying it with a string, and then we had sterilized. Ryan had gone to just like quickly boil scissors and then just like cut through the rest of it. And then we ended up.
So you did every single way.
Yeah, for real. Like, seriously. Just like
this is your lotus chapter. This is your burning chapter. And this is your cutting chapter. That's great.
Oh my gosh. And we ended up encapsulating it. And one of the sisters on the land ended up doing it for me, and her daughter, who's turning 6 in September, was helping and like massaging the blood clots out of it. Aww. And and I ended up painting my drum, like my shaman medicine drum, with the blood.
Hell yeah.
And that was really cool, and giving everyone blood bindies that was around that day. I was like, who wants it on your third eye? There you go. And so they helped me do that, and we're drying her umbilical cord to be able to make a dream catcher out of, and for her to have later in life. Yeah.
How do you feel now? You're 2 weeks postpartum.
2 weeks. I feel really great. I feel the recovery was just as fast. I think my body heals just really, really quickly. And it's just always been a thing. So by day 4, I didn't have soreness anymore. And wasn't bleeding much at all. I pretty much have been like free bleeding too for the most of it. I don't really like having to wear underwear or pads or anything. I'd rather just like feel something in between my legs and go run outside or go run to the kitchen and just wash it off than have to do more laundry than, and I'm just feeling good. Papa's still home for now. And we took Bloom, we put her feet on the earth for the first time, I think like 3 or 4 days ago. Had a little ceremony, made a little mandala out of flowers, and we ended up taking her to one of the beaches too. And then we went back to the beach with her yesterday, and she just loves it. And so slowly but surely, I've left the land now twice, but waited 2 weeks. And it's just like, this island's too beautiful to just stay on.
I had the same experience.
Your little piece of land.
Yeah.
Although the land we live on is just, magical, and there's a food forest, and there's palm trees and bananas and big mangoes and a stream. It's like, it's beautiful, but it's still like where you live and where you go to sleep and where you eat,
Totally.
And I was just like, so right. I think with Bodhi too, it was 2 weeks when we went out with him to, the river where I spent a lot of my pregnancy.
Well, and I think it's super different if you're like living in Los Angeles and your outing is to drive 45 minutes in bumper to bumper aggressive traffic to go to Target, to go to the pediatrician, to go to the grocery store. Yeah. I mean, that sounds hellish. But when you have the privilege, of your outings being nurturing and nature based, it feels very different. I had a similar. I was like, I'm thinking I would do 40 days, and after, I think I really made myself wait about 4 weeks. But again, like, we were on land. Not as much as it sounds like you are, but we were able to like be outside and lay in the grass and feel the sun on our face and all of that. So that felt really good. But eventually I was like, wait, why am I tripping about just walking in the forest or going to the beach? Like that's not a part of this whole 40 days, no stress, no overwhelm. Like that's super nourishing to me. So yeah.
Yeah. And the beach was totally nurturing to Bloom. It was amazing. Like she was just totally passed out, blissed out in this like deep, deep sleep for a long time. And when she woke up, it was like the most awake she's been. Like,
she's with the elements.
And, oh yeah. And she's just like, mom spent her pregnancy by the ocean.
Exactly.
And, like, I was born in the water and like, this is home.
It's a happy baby.
outside, just, so she really loves it. And Bodhi loves her so much. It's been a beautiful experience watching him blossom as well. And we'll just come over to her randomly and give her kisses on the head and ask if she's okay, if she's crying, and like mention like whether or not she's awake.
Cute.
But yeah, born on the same day, 2 years apart.
That is wild.
Sort of beautiful connection.
Yeah, that is wild. Well, thank you so much. It's refreshing to hear these wild stories and just how you fully embraced it and just went into it and welcomed it and dealt with it and let it really be its most epic formation, really. Like you don't get more perfect and tuned in and, what's the right word? Just connected and just the surrender and the lessons and awareness and just such a gift most you gave your family.
Just most powerful, epic thing I've definitely ever done. And the most right feeling too. Just absolutely no doubt in my mind afterwards that if I have any other babies, that they will be born freely with just my partner and my babies and, just us as a family, just welcoming our newest addition.
Yeah. I mean, it's the natural way. Like it's, I know that that's confronting for people, but like, that is what tigers do. That is what bears do. That is what we have done until very, 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 very recently. It is the way of nature, to be private and undisturbed and quiet and with the elements and, being connected to outside or even being outside. Being just with your family, like family birth it's as good as it gets.
Yeah, it really was.
And even for your partner,
really
like
was.
You speaking to, that Ryan felt like he played such a bigger role for himself and getting to be the person holding with you, instead of a bunch of other people that you don't even know and are never going to see again.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a very empowering experience for him too.
I loved that song you sang. That was really pretty.
Oh yeah, that's it. Like honestly, it helped me through the entire thing. It was just like constantly on in my brain, and I'm glad I was able to share that too because I don't know. I love mantras, and they definitely helped me with Bodhi. But this one was just like, I just want to share it with the world. I don't know. There's like, it's so much fun being on the islands because there's like so many beautiful, beautiful people and so many doulas too. And so like, there's so many fun songs that got taught to me that I really, really used during my pregnancy too. Not even just like the birth, but it's just so fun to hear. Yeah, just like medicine songs of other people, and I'm just really glad my friend Taylor was able to share that with me because it just played such a great thing for my labor with Bloom.
Totally. I mean, the song, I shared it in my episode. There was a song for me that was my turning point. Like that, more than anything, any support anyone gave me or anything in my birth, it was one particular song that shifted everything, for me. So, I mean, it's
songs are so powerful.
So powerful.
Music, just any form of it. It's just amazing.
All right, girlfriend. So great. Thank you so much for sharing. That was such a beautiful, beautiful tale.
Thank you. It was
Thanks
so
for
nice
your time.
talking with you, Emily.
Yeah, you too. All right, bye.
Bye, darling.
That's it for today, everyone. Join us next week for another episode of the Free Birth Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your body, your choice. Lots of love.